So my main thing is, should a man pay for everything? No. What should he pay for? He should only pay for the things he offers and the things he puts in front of the woman. Meaning, if I put in front of you a trip, I'm going to pay for the trip because I put it in front of your eyes. If you brought something in front of my eyes and you're expecting me to pay for it, I will not put a single penny towards. That is the truth. Hey there, welcome back everybody. It's another episode of New Age Podcast. My name is Charles.
And my name is Dario.
And man, we got a segment for you guys. So just as we've discussed before, we got a lot of big things planned. And one of the biggest things we have planned, which we want to introduce to you today, is a segment called Trigger Warning. Now, a little quick, what do you call it? Like a cautionary that we want to give before every episode of Trigger Warning. And we're going to introduce it to you with more in-depth detail today, is what to expect from Trigger Warning. Right off the bat, look at the name. We do expect to trigger some people. Now, whether we intend to do it or not, that's a little subjective. I kind of do. But Daddy was a different story, But the main thing is we will be discussing topics, controversies, personal stories, all that kind of stuff. Where I'm not going to lie, it is mostly opinion and educated perspective. But at the same time, it's discussions that no one talks about, and it is stuff that no one talks about for a reason. So there may be certain words we say or certain topics we talk about or even some certain terminology we use that may not be appropriate for every listener, but that's why we call it trigger warning, and we give a little cautionary right before every episode because we want you guys to understand what you're about to walk into. But if you come in with an open mindset and an open perspective, you will really take a lot from our conversation.
Yeah, and I want to make it clear from both of our behalves that this is our own opinion, our own perspective on the topic or whatever it is that we're going through for this episode. Every episode's gonna be different. Every episode might be a different topic. So it might not just be, relationships or, finances, whatever the case may be. But there's always a reason why we pick it for trigger warning is because it's such a sensitive topic. And I know, at least for me, because it's trigger warning, like I'm going to be triggered myself to want to say stuff and give attitude or express attitude kind of in that sense. So we're just giving you guys a forewarning of what to expect.
And one more thing I want to throw out there is perspectives change, and so do some experiences. So you're going to see as we continue out throughout this podcast and this segment that our perspective might change on something. So I want you to understand that this is just us at the moment and our opinion and perspective at the moment. Just like everybody out there, sometimes people change or our perspectives change. So again, don't take to heart if we don't agree with something that you agree with. That's the beautiful part about being able to discuss stuff like this, is being able to at the end come to a common interest or common resolution that people just tend to argue about, that we're like, nah, sure, it might get heated. It might be a little bit of argument or it might be a little bit of a rant. But at the end of the day, we do try to come to a resolution / middle ground. And I want to make one thing clear for everybody out there who's like, no, fact check that. No, that's just opinion. We're making it clear. Trigger warning is a segment based off opinion and perspective of me, a Hispanic male who looks Asian, and Hispanic male who looks Hispanic. Okay, we're making that clear. That's the perspective and opinion it's coming from. Now, we do have another series we have planned coming out. We're going to call it, we haven't given it such a big name yet, but it is a debate series. We're going to spend 12 hours of research, and we're only going to speak facts. No opinions, only facts. We're going to be taking sides on that, but keep in mind, it doesn't mean we agree with the side. We're just assigning roles to each other, and we're going to play devil's advocate. So that's another type of conversation and discussion we have planned, but we want to make it clear. That one is only factual based, and it's stuff that we may not even agree with. We're just arguing for. This is a discussion that we agree with for whatever we say, and it's not always factual. I want to make that part clear. Other than that, I think we're ready to get started. So I sent him a link to an episode of a video by Kevin Samuels, one of the leading examples in the red pill community. And without further ado,
I don't know if you want to give them a quick example of what red pill is, because I'm not gonna lie, I only just found out what red pill was like a month or two ago.
Okay, so for those of you
anyone
guys
who doesn't
who don't know out there, and keep in mind we might have some red pill discussion talks where it's addressing topics within red pill community that are pretty controversial. So we want to make it clear what red pill is if you're going to be tuning in for the rest of the time. Red pill community is a community where it was based off the Matrix, and in this case, he was telling them you could either take the blue pill or the red pill. The red pill will make you see things for as they are, aka you'll see the truth of the world. So there became a community that adopted that mindset, and it's been mostly like a pro male community where it's all about addressing issues male believe that are issues that no one addresses or no one protects for male. So it's mostly like, sadly, it's kind of like and that's why it's called trigger warning. People might start attacking me just from me saying this, but it's like feminism but for males, because it was intended to promote males, but media made it turn into hating the other gender or bashing the other gender. So sadly, that is what red pill community is to the media, but the original truth behind it was just seeing the truth and only the facts. As like feminism was supposed to be a righteous fight for women to promote themselves and show that they're equal to men, because they are, but it turned into mostly like a hatred towards men. So it's the same thing, but imagine it for men to women. Now again, that probably got people mad right there, but that gives you an idea of, yo, this is me explaining my opinion and my perspective, but that is what red pill community is. Now, without further ado, I am going to pull up the video for the audio to see, and we're going to pull it up.
Yeah, for you guys, we're going to have it pulled up for the entire video just so you can see it as well and see what we're seeing, hear what we're seeing. That way you're completely involved within the conversation of what we're going to have for today.
Now, let's jump straight to it.
But you don't want to put the work in. You don't want to build the resume. You don't want to actually have it where it counts to have the real leverage. You want her to respect your masculinity and your manhood because you have a penis and an XY chromosome. It don't work that way. Women respect resources. You can't check a bitch because you got nothing to check with. The only place you dominate is in the bedroom. Dominate on the balance sheet. Dominate on your wallet, which is your accomplishments. Any woman that you choose to deal with, her money should be no good with you if you're 100% man. You pay everything. Why? Because it keeps her in her feminine when she's with you. I don't give a shit. The women I deal with, they know I don't care what you do.
So I kind of want to make it clear because we didn't say it before we played the video, and he only said it once during the video. But the main topic for the video is a man should pay for everything. He said it once through, but in case anyone kind of listened and was kind of
like, what's the point?
Yeah,
what is it that he's arguing? Yeah.
So basically, the man is supposed to pay for everything, is what that video is supposed to express.
So, Daddy, I'm gonna ask you: do you agree with him? And what's your reaction to the video?
So, like Charles said, he had sent me the video previously before we came and started recording for today. So I did watch it once, and looking through it, listening through it, he makes some good points. I'm not gonna lie. But I have to say I agree up to a certain extent. Now, I want to clarify the reason why I say certain extent is not just because doesn't mean, we're supposed to just pay for everything or we're not supposed to pay for everything. I mean certain extent as in there's certain things where it's taking it too far, or it's crossing the line, in my opinion, where I just see no, that's clearly something you should pay for. And I'll give one quick example, and that's, let's say, theoretically speaking, you're in a relationship, right? And the two of you guys are adults, matured, you guys both are living in separate apartments, and and the woman expects the man to pay for her rent as well. That's where I'm like, okay, you know what? That's passing the line. She has her own apartment. She's doing her own thing. That's her own place. She should pay for that herself. Now, if they're living together, that's a different story. That's a conversation between the couple themselves, and they can decide, maybe the guy pays for it completely or they split, whatever the case may be. But to be living in separate apartments and then for the woman to expect the man to pay for everything, that's where I say it crosses the line. And That's where I believe the man shouldn't pay for everything. So that's why, for me at least, I say yes to a certain extent. But what about you? It's gonna get spicy. I can tell you're waiting for something.
Dude, you have no idea how many people might block me after this. Actually, I don't think my perspective is that bad at all. I see it as you see it. Like, I make it clear from the jump. So in this case, if the man should pay for everything, no. My opinion. Why? Because that's everything. Everything is the word itself, bro. Meaning that if it's everything, it's everything. It's not everything with these constraints. It's just everything. So to the question direct, and if you want a direct answer to the question, should a man pay for everything? No. Because I believe in this. It's like if we're in a time where equal rights have caught up and all these acts have caught up, I believe the finances should catch up too. The responsibility should catch up too. I personally believe that. It's one of those things where, for me personally, I would not pay everything. I would not pay someone else's bills because I didn't choose those bills. I didn't make those decisions. I didn't inherit those debts. You get me? I would pay for the debts I inherit, for the bills I inherit, but not for someone else's. Now, someone's going to be like, well, what if it's your wife? What if you live together? Then that's a decision you made together. So in this case, I would switch it up. Now, my main thing is, like you said, if we're in separate places and you want me to pay a certain bill of yours that's in a separate place that I didn't, first off, like tell you like, hey, let me take care of this bill for you. If I offered, then great, I'll pay it. But understand I offered for that one time. You get me? Now don't expect it. That's where it gets dangerous. The moment you expect anything involving money from me, I'm aggressive. And that applies to everybody. Because of the fact that like I can't stand when someone's like, oh, you owe me this. Oh, you owe me like, oh, like you need to pay this. For what? Because you're supposed to help out. Oh, whoa. Helping is a courteous type of thing. You get me? It's an act of courtesy. The moment you obligate courtesy, it's no longer courteous. You get me? So my main thing is, should a man pay for everything? No. What should he pay for? He should only pay for the things he offers and the things he puts in front of the woman. Meaning, if I put in front of you a trip, I'm going to pay for the trip because I put it in front of your eyes. If you brought something in front of my eyes and you're expecting me to pay for it, I will not put a single penny towards. That is the truth. You get me? Because at the end of the day, I will pay for the things I offer to you. I will pay for the things we agreed upon. That's the way I view it. And you know what? I'm going to twist this up a bit. All right, since we're already on the topic about money and relationships, or specifically just man towards women, I know we talked about this before. What's your opinion on joint bank accounts?
So just to give you guys a quick little backstory, and this is going to happen quite often here on the podcast itself. Usually I see videos, whether it's TikTok or YouTube videos or something, and so does Charles. And because we're with each other so often, we're always like asking each other, hey, what do you think about this topic? What do your perspective on this topic? And I kid you not, I had asked him the same question probably around January, February. Sometime back, because I was curious of his opinion for it because of the video I saw from TikTok of a guy talking about it in a financial standpoint. So for me, and I feel like maybe my answer might change because I don't completely remember exactly what I said from that day, but I believe the only need for a joint bank account, and that's if it's a necessity, would be for to pay bills / food. So in the sense of let's say I have a partner and we've started a family, we have a kid or two, right? And I have my own job, she has her own job, so we both have our own sources of income. I would still have my account, she would still have hers, but let's say we put a specific amount per paycheck or something split between the two of us, so that, okay, all this money we could put into bills, into the market for groceries, into all these things that we need, and if it's like a newborn, for diapers, for necessities, so stuff like that, necessities, right? Now, whether we have spare money to to spend in that segment, maybe we get some extra snacks, or maybe we save it, and for the next week or for the next month that comes along, we have a little extra in case of bills or stuff. Or just let's say we have that extra little budget. Let's spend a little bit of that money to go and go to the movies as a family, or go and have this kind of thing as a family. But that, to me, at that point, that's where I would say joint bank accounts are a green light for me, just because if I have my own source of income and she has her own source of income, I can handle what I want to do with my income. For me, I'm thinking long term. I'm thinking of the stock market, marketing, finances, like that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to be using my money and just blowing it all over the place. Don't get me wrong, I'm a guy and I'm a kid at heart. There's going to be things that I see and I'm like, I want that. Go-kart, for example. I'm like, I might see a go-kart and just be like, or what are those the carts that they can drift as well, but they're like little go-kart kind of things.
I know what you're talking about. They have it at the K1 speed race. So dude, I want that too.
So it's something like that. You can't tell me that any guy who has the ability to buy it is not going to want to buy it as what's the word, as an impulse buy, But in that case, it's I have my own money, so I know what I have in my account, so I know if I can afford it or not, instead of putting in the burden. And that's the other thing, is putting in the stress and the burden and all that of having, let's say from the jump, we jumped into one account, and what I got from my account, from my paycheck, was in that account, and what she got from that paycheck was in in the same account. Now we're stressing between one another to be you know what, we're both putting in both of our paychecks, but we don't have enough for these bills, or we don't have enough to do this. Or let's say one of us has an impulse buy, and all of a sudden now we're really low and we don't have enough to pay for bills that are coming up or something like that,
Okay, I'm gonna cut you real quick for 3 questions, or 2 questions mainly. Okay, first one is, so what will be the requirements then for a joint bank account? Meaning, does marriage have to be involved? Does equal amount of income have to be involved? As well as the other question of, what if she came to you wanting to do a joint bank account? Now, okay, so in my case, let's say for example, let's say for example that if she came to me for a joint bank account and she said, I want to do a joint bank account, my first things I would require is for us to create a budget sheet and a money tracking sheet. Meaning, we both have the same logins, of course, it's a joint bank account, but I will be tracking everywhere a single dollar and a single penny goes to make sure it's going to where it needs to. And I'll be tracking how much I put into the account and how much she puts into the account, how much she takes out of the account, how much I take out of the account. Because if there's a certain amount where I'm putting in a certain amount and she's putting in a certain amount and she's taking more than she put in, that's where it becomes an issue. So my main thing is, how would you address it if you decide to do it?
So I'll answer, your question. I kind of want to point out, and this is part of why it's trigger warning, is the fact that he brought up having a spreadsheet, having, basically the logistics of where everything's going. You got to understand, there's reasons of why we think this way, whether it's things we've gone through, whether it's we've known people that have gone through things. We want to learn from not just our own mistakes, but
their mistakes.
Not to be messed up or anything, or hope upon people having mistakes, but it's we want to learn from other people as well. So I'm personally, I back his decision of the spreadsheets, and that but that's just me as well. I would just track that for my own benefit, just to make sure we're okay. That way we're not completely stressing out about where the money is going and all that. From that's my opinion. Now, as for the questions, does it need to be, do you guys need to be married? Honestly, I would say no. Because, at this point, it's a conversation between the couple or who's together. But I would say the question would more likely come up when a family has been started, in the sense of now there's a child involved. Because at that point, you have more you have to worry about. So diapers and all the new stuff for a child. Now, whether it's, let's say it's a couple, you guys, few months or few years, however, because every couple moves at their own pace.
Cool.
But so I just gotta make it clear. Yeah, exactly. But then let's say that you guys move in together. You can start it at that point. If you guys are moving in together and now you're paying all these bills, like that would make sense to have a joint bank account in that sense. Now if you guys end up breaking up and it doesn't last, like that's another thing you guys have to discuss, figure out who put, that's where the whole spreadsheet and everything comes in. But figure out who put in what, who gets what in return, like how's everything gonna handle and everything and all that. Now, shit, what was the second question?
It's okay. We're gonna skip that one. I'm gonna jump straight to something where I want to tie both together, but I also want to address something. So, how do you feel about that whole argument? Like, nah, I should be trusted. Like, if there's no trust in a relationship, all because I can't be trusted with money, I don't want to be in it. Does trust even involve in this? On top of the other question I want to bring, which is we originally started with, should the man have to pay for everything? Now we're on to the topic of joint bank accounts. So now I'm on the topic of, okay, you're married to this person, okay?
Theoretically speaking, okay.
Okay, yeah, theoretically speaking. You're married to this person. You have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 12 kids, okay?
You got a whole circus.
You
got a whole soccer team.
Depending on whatever you want to go for, man.
Uh-huh.
And they left their job, and now you're the household income provider. So now we're bringing into those two together. Should you be paying for everything because you are the only source of income? On top of, should there be a joint bank account, or should it just be your bank account? And since you're paying for everything, there shouldn't be no need for a joint bank account.
Now, there's a problem with the second statement or the second question you just put out, where if you need a joint bank account or if not. Because now, if you say if not, if I say if not, now it's like, so does she get an allowance? And that's where it's like a whole other dispute. It's like, now you're giving your wife an allowance because she doesn't work, like that. People are gonna be, that's fucked up. That's not right. Like, so, it's a whole complete, like, other.
But would you then?
Theoretically speaking, right? So
you're hesitating.
Well, it's because I'm trying to figure out how I can phrase it. So if, theoretically speaking, if I was married and I had X amount of kids or, children I was looking at, and she ended up becoming basically the stay-at-home mom while I was basically, the breadwinner. I was the one that was receiving income. At that point, I feel like I would have my own account with the open idea of having a joint bank account, but now it would turn into, I would put in, so it's kind of like the allowance. I would put in like a certain amount in as if like it was for bills, but it's for like, for her to go buy clothes or something like that for the kids, or go and do this and that. Cause then at that point, like, I want to make it clear that, the money isn't just for her. Cause if I'm going to have an account for her, or have, her have her own money in that sense, I want to make it clear, like, this isn't just for you. Like, we have kids we have to go for. And like, just because now I'm not at home 24/7 because I'm out doing a job and all that, like, I want to know that even though I'm gone, if you guys need to go and get clothes or get food, or let's say something happens at the house, like something, like a crisis happens, it's like, just so you guys are safe and for the family to be okay, like, I'm going to give you, a decent amount of money for you, for anything to happen. But now that's where the trust comes in. Cause, some people do like to impulse buy, or some people like to, like, I have this amount of money right now, like, and they'll just be like, oh, the kids have, my bad. They're like, oh, the kids have everything at the moment, where they don't like properly think about anything that they need, or ask the kids, like, is there anything you need, And one thing, like, I would kind of point out is kind of how my dad raised me was, is it a need or is it a want?
Yeah.
So, that's something like I would ask, my kids in this theoretical situation. So yeah, for me, it would just be like, I would have my own account where I know how much it is I'm receiving directly from whatever my job is. And I know how much I'm sending to the other account. I would still have, the spreadsheet and all that because, I have the login to that second account as well. So I'm seeing like, okay, there's X amount from Walmart, and then there's X amount from JCPenney, and then there's X amount from such store, So I can see like, okay, maybe this was for the kids, or, this was for this. But then when you see like fucking some jewelry shop like out of nowhere and it's like a big amount, it's like, okay, what at that point, that's where I would go and not consult, but just like ask out of curiosity, what was the purchase for? Is it a need? Is it a want? Like, can you justify the reason of why you spent that much amount for whatever the item was, whether it's for yourself, whether it's for a gift? And at that case, that's where like trust also comes in, of communicating with one another. Like if you want to buy an item like that, like, at least talk to me. That way I'm aware of how much, the spending is. And if I'm cool with it, then I'll send you a little extra money as cushion, so that when you do spend that money, you still have, a cushion in case you do need groceries, food, or something like that for the family,
Mm-hmm.
So that's like my kind of thinking towards it. And I know you have
that different.
Yeah. So it's like, I want to hear your perspective, but, answer your own questions basically.
Okay, so I'm going to address this in two ways for two different listeners, okay? The first listener who's listening that I'm addressing it towards is the listener who wouldn't be relying on the man because they'll be making their own money, okay? And they plan on continuing that the whole way. And then I'm going to address the listener who plans and wants to be a stay-at-home mom, wants to be with the kids, doesn't mind the man being the breadwinner, okay? I'm addressing both of them separately. I want to make that part clear. But the first thing I want to address that I didn't get a chance to address, I want to make clear right now. When it comes to the whole should the men pay for everything, right off the jump, I believe this, and I told you this before. If you are not my wife, I will not be doing husband-like duties. Vice versa. I'm not your husband. I don't expect you to do wife-like duties.
Dude, that's a whole other conversation.
But with that is the whole idea of money. And should the man pay for everything? So honestly, that's where my perspective changes. Because if I'm married to you, I would want to pay for everything because I'm your husband. But if I'm not married to you, I'm not paying a single penny towards something I didn't put in front of you. Let me make that part clear. If I am married to you, I don't mind paying for everything and doing what I can to provide for you. That's part of the act of me marrying you. If I'm not your husband, don't expect a dime from me for something I did not put in front of you. People may like that, people may not like that. I don't care. That's mine. But on top of the idea with the joint bank accounts, for the addressing the woman who wants to be independent, wants to always work and make her own income, cool. I'm going to keep a track sheet and I'm going to make sure whatever goes in and whatever's pulled out stays within whatever we brought in. Because if it doesn't, then I'm going to have that conversation, not consult, conversation of, okay, now I just want to know, are you independent? Because if you're independent, you shouldn't need to pull from whatever I'm putting in. Or are we going to be codependent / interdependent to where now that we understand that there's no such thing as I'm independent, because I don't get that, you get me? But if we understand, okay, there's no one claiming here I'm independent and we're interdependent, meaning we could take care of ourselves, but sometimes we do need help of another, then cool. That's okay if you pull something from my account, but don't come in with a title and don't come in with a mentality of I'm independent and start pulling out of my stuff. You get me? That's my other thing. Then on top of, okay, she's a stay-at-home mom, she chooses to be a stay-at-home mom, cool. Kind of similar to what you said, I would want to do somewhat kind of like an allowance. Now, this isn't necessarily like, oh, this limit. I wouldn't have a limit. It would be like, okay, I'll address it like this. Tell me 3 things you want this month. That includes you want to do, you want to get, and you want to experience. That kind of goes with what you want to do or you want to try. Okay. Out of those 3, we'll choose, because I believe wants are needed sometimes. You get me? You want to keep your relationship / your marriage spontaneous, and sometimes that involves money. So I would be like, okay, we'll address the needs. We need this. We need this. Now, I understand you want this, but we can't afford, and I can't let, come out of my budget / our budget, all these wants happen. So like, okay, you want to go to Cancun. Let's go to Cancun. But I can't let you want to go to Cancun and you want to get this new Mercedes. That's not going to happen. And make that part, yeah, you got it? So I wouldn't have necessarily an allowance, but I would have what's something you want out of this month. As long as I see her putting her full effort into the marriage. Now, if it's something like, okay, you're a stay-at-home mom and you're my wife, but at the same time, I'm still having to do everything on top of actually making the bread. That's going to be an issue. I think of that kind of like a job. I'm not saying you'll get fired, but I am saying there will be a probation period.
Possible replacement.
And I'm not trying to make that sound bad or anything like that. It's just like kind of like how they have a, what's it called? Where you have to go and you have to talk necessarily. Where you have to go and talk to your boss if there's issues or anything like that coming up, and it's impairing your work performance.
I know what you mean.
I forgot what it's called. I forgot what it's called. But I would want that. And again, the people might say like that's misogynistic. Okay, well, it's my perspective, it's my opinion, and again, that's if they want to. That's if they just want to be a stay-at-home mom. Okay, I just need at least when I come home, it's maintained. You get me? I don't want to see everything going crazy. That's as small as I ask for. And like I said, I wouldn't have like a necessarily allowance amount. It'd be like, okay, what is something you want to do? How could we keep your life spontaneous / our life spontaneous? That's what it would be.
I would say you just bringing up I want to just come home and everything maintained reminded me of the clip of, and I don't know if anyone has seen it, but the one with what's the actor's name who plays like the Hawk in Marvel?
Hawkeye?
No. Like he actually has like mechanical wings and.
Oh, I know what you're talking.
The clip where he's like, I get home, make me a sandwich, like that kind of like that. I don't know why I said. I kid you not, like we have these kind of conversations.
And his name is Falcon, not the Hawk.
I don't know. I'm not. I'm not a big Marvel person, but So I'm not gonna lie. Like, when we have these kind of trigger warning episodes, or just any episode in general, we say something and we're probably pointing out that a topic on its own can be a whole another episode because we've had our own conversations about those topics,
and we know how long they could get.
Yeah, we know how long they can get, and we know how like riled up we'll get, or how our opinions are going to be trigger warning. So, you're going to hear us like, that's a whole other topic. That's a whole other video. That's a whole other,
I think we could probably record that after and throw in the video. You get me? I'm down if you're down.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can squeeze in. If we can squeeze in like that release this week as well. We'll see. There's no guarantee, but we'll see. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I mean, we want to wrap up the discussion so we don't take too long. But final opinions. Should a man pay for everything? In what circumstances?
So, I'm not gonna lie, once you actually answered that question, you brought up a good point where you said, when you're married, yes, but, while you're not married, no. And thinking about it, like, I back your decision. I'm still like borderline, like, yes, to a certain extent, but now I also kind of want to say no in that same aspect, just because of, once again, the experiences I've gone through, people I've talked to, stories from people that have gone through life. Like, it's basically something that I've heard from. So I'm just want to take that into account. That way, either I'm not making the same mistake or I'm not going through the same situations they were. So I understand that there is a decent amount of women out there who genuinely expect for the guy to pay for everything. And, that's fascinating. It's interesting. But
I like that substitute word you use.
But it's like, I've also seen videos and stuff like that of how the moment the guy, purposefully just to test it out or just, does something so that he doesn't pay, the girl completely like flips out and like she was assuming in the first place and she was attacking and this and that. Now, I'm not saying, every woman or every girl out there is like that. Like,
no. My first date, I lost my wallet and she was totally calm about paying the bill. So I will say that is not 100% of the women, because I will back that 100.
Yeah. So, we both know people that aren't like that, but we're just kind of hoping that there's more people that are that, don't expect for the guy to pay every little thing. Just because I'm not gonna lie, like, as a guy, if you go on a date, whether you guys have gone on a date before or it's a first date, kind of situational with what Charles, he lost his wallet, dumbass. But you lost your
I
wallet.
still secured the bags. No, yeah.
No,
So I know what I brought to the table.
So it's like, in that situation where she stepped up and paid for, whatever it is you guys are doing, like, from the guy's perspective, like, that's going to be even more attractive. Not just because, like,
it has nothing to do with money.
Well, yeah, but it's in the sense of, like, you were so, like, as a girl, you were comfortable enough to
and willing and chill about it.
And willing and chill. Yeah, you weren't like, fine, since you don't have your money, like, I'll pay for it. Like, no, not like that.
Mhm.
But if, like, you're chill and you're willing and, like, you're just down to do it and you cover, like, we, like, as a guy, we think of,
how rare it is. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
the rarity.
Exactly. How rare. But in the sense of, if we were to ever go out on a date, which, after that experience, we're probably hoping for another date to happen, is we know, like, as time goes by and maybe a relationship starts, we know, like, if there's ever anything to happen or we're just out and about and we're consistently, like, every other day or every day we're going out, like, I know I don't have to spend a big amount because, maybe at that point we're gotten comfortable to where, like, let's say we go and get, like, smoothies from one place, but then burgers from another, and, like, she's like, "Oh, I'll cover the smoothies," and you'll cover the food, and then the next day it's like the other way around. Like, that's where in a relationship, and you can justify because I know from your guys' perspective, as a third perspective, you guys do this consistently, and I see how it works from a third party perspective, and I kid you not, that is something I like. I want to look for, not because. I don't want to spend money. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. Like, to me, that doesn't mean I'm just gonna be stingy and hold my money. Like, no, that's not the case. Like, if I'm in a relationship, I'm gonna want to do stuff with my partner. But just seeing how well it works for the two of you guys, where the thing is, like, you guys don't even, like, say, like, who's paying for this. It's just like all of a sudden, she's gonna cover today's food, and all of a sudden you guys go on another trip 2 days later, and you cover for the tickets and the food or whatever, and it just balances out and everything works. Like, that's. So
that's not a relationship, that's a partnership, and that's what I would recommend everybody out there to look for. But
so basically, kind of going back, yeah. So I kind of went away. So basically, to answer the reason why we started this whole trigger warning episode, I'm still saying yes to a certain extent, but I'm also borderline, like, saying no with what Charles had said, in the sense of, if we're married, then
it differs.
It's a diverse response. But if we're not, then no, do not expect for me to pay for every little thing. Yeah. So.
And just to make my answer nice, short, simple, sweet, because I know me, I'll get carried on. I'll get too passionate with it.
Like me.
Should men pay for everything? No. If you're not married to her. Should men pay for most things? Yes. Whether or not you're married to her. That's what my final answer would be. Not everything, but most things. Because at the end of the day, oh shit, see, I was about to go on to a different topic. I was about to catch my. At the end of the day, this whole my money is my money and his money is my money. If you want that, if you want that relationship, then that's okay. That's for you. That's not for me. For me, I like interdependency, meaning we could take care of ourselves, but sometimes it's cool if we could take care of each other. I look for a partnership. I don't look for a relationship. So my opinion only applies for those who are looking for a partnership. So at the end of the day, this is my quickest thing I can say. If we go to the movies, I'll pay for the ticket, I'll cover the gas. Even if you just pay for popcorn or even a drink, or we go to 99-cent store and sneak in some cheap ass candy.
Like everybody.
That is the best thing. So I call it a 70 to 30% ratio. I cover at least 70%. Honestly, even if you cover at max 30%, I'm chilling. It's just the small bits of contribution that matter. That's why I say men shouldn't pay for everything, but they should pay for most things, because it's, at the end of the day, it's the small contributions a woman can make when we're paying for stuff that matters. Other than that, my name is Charles.
And my name is Ariel.
And this is Trigger Warning on New Age Podcast. Peace.